When her second child arrived, that made news. But it's mom's face that's world famous.
She's got an extraordinary face, a most luscious head of hair, a great body.
She is the supermodel of supermodels.
She's taken a run on the catwalk, and she's expanded it into so many different businesses.
She strutted down every top designer's runway, and her face has graced hundreds of magazine covers. But behind Cindy Crawford's knock-em-dead smile, her sexy figure, and her multi-million-dollar fortune is a classic American story. Hard work, clear-cut goals, but also heartbreak. The tragic loss of her baby brother.
He told us that Jesus was there to take him and that he wanted to tell us goodbye.
Her parents' sudden divorce.
I remember him telling us that he was leaving, and there was this other woman, or somehow we gleaned that.
And a marriage to Richard Gere targeted by the tabloids.
She adored Richard and loved Richard deeply, but knew that it wasn't right.
In this hour, how she went from picking corn in Illinois to become one of the most successful women in the world, Cindy Crawford.
This is Headliners and Legends with Matt Lauer.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Headliners and Legends. She's seen far more than she's heard. But here's the real mystery about her. How does Cindy Crawford stay grounded? No ugly personal woes, no cravings that get her into trouble. Instead, in a business filled with temptations, Crawford kept her head straight. No matter who you are or what you aspire to, there's something to be learned from watching how Cindy handles the game.
Cindy Crawford, tall, thin, gorgeous, a designer's muse.
She's called no bad picture Cindy. She just sort of gets it right all the time.
She graced the cover of the world's top magazines with a combination of knockout looks and marketing savvy.
It was a basic thing. Put Cindy on the cover, you will have success.
But before she became one of the most recognizable faces on the planet, Cindy had to learn some hard lessons. DeKalb, Illinois, only about an hour west of Chicago, but worlds away from the big city lifestyle. In this small town amid the cornfields, a long and lanky baby girl is born on February 20th, 1966. Her name is Cynthia Ann Crawford.
We looked at her and we were like, oh my gosh, put her back. Because, I mean, she came out like most babies do, kind of wrinkled. And, but at 2 weeks old, I remember my dad came up to the house and he was just stricken by what a beautiful baby she was.
Cindy is the second child born to Jenny and Dan Crawford. Dan is a 21-year-old electrician. Jenny is 19. Because of her youth, Jenny is a playmate to her children, as well as a loving mom.
I felt very unconditionally loved by my mother, even though she was definitely like strict about certain things, and you know, we were expected to behave and all of that, but we also, you know, her arms were always open for a hug.
By 1971, the Crawford family includes 3 daughters and a son. They are not wealthy, but the Crawfords are a young family in search of the American dream. But the dream is about to be shattered. In the spring of 1973, when Cindy is just 7, her 2-year-old baby brother, Jeffrey, is diagnosed with leukemia.
One morning, I noticed some little purple speckles on his arms. And my sister-in-law was a nurse, and she happened to come over that morning, and I showed him to her, and she said, you need to take him to the doctor.
The prognosis is grim. For almost 2 years, Jeffrey is in and out of the hospital and in and out of remission.
The good periods were getting shorter and farther apart, and the bad periods were getting longer and closer together.
On January 3rd, 1975, just weeks before his 4th birthday, Cindy's little brother, Jeffrey, dies.
The night that he died, he definitely knew he was going. It was around midnight, and he called us into his bedroom and told us that Jesus was there to take him and that he wanted to tell us goodbye.
In the morning, we were all eating breakfast at my grandmother's house, and I remember my parents walking in without my brother. And it was like no one had to say anything. We kind of all figured it out. And, you know, it was awful. It was an awful day. And I just remember crying, like the sound of everyone crying.
Jeffrey's death is an enormous blow to 8-year-old Cindy. She and her sisters feel compelled to fill the void left by their brother's death.
Because he was the only boy, we all felt like, gosh, maybe it should have been one of us instead, so that my dad could have had his boy, or my mom could have had his boy. I mean, they already had 3 girls.
My one sister was like the athletic one, so she was kind of like the boy that my dad didn't have, and I was like really tried hard in school because it was like I could be that aspect of that. We all tried to find ways of pleasing my father.
It is the starting point of a relentless drive to succeed that will shape Cindy's future. When her father bets Cindy that she can't get straight A's in school, she pushes herself and earns A's consistently.
I think I got 2 B's in high school, and it didn't bother me. That would have driven Cindy crazy.
I can remember one incident staying at her house, and she had to make sure every night, not only did she have her homework done and her studies done, but I had to have mine done as well, and she would go over my stuff when she was done with her stuff.
Cindy is a gifted student, and as she grows, another gift begins to show, a physical gift. By the time she reaches DeKalb High School, Cindy is 6 inches taller than the other girls.
She kind of went through, I don't want to say gawky age, but she was taller than the rest of the kids in her class, and she was very smart, and I think sometimes she felt like she stood out a little bit more than she wanted to.
I was taller than most of the guys, and my mom was buying my shoes a size 10, which I've never even grown into because she was so sick of me growing out of my shoes every 6 months. So I didn't feel like the cutest girl or any of that.
Cindy is unaware that this awkward stage is a blessing in disguise. But 15-year-old Cindy isn't thinking about modeling. To make money, she gets a job picking corn for $4 an hour.
There was a huge group of our friends that was our summer job. And we worked in the cornfields for probably 4 or 5 weeks out of the summer, pollinating or detasseling, and that was just what we all did.
We were out there, you know, sometimes 12 hours a day. You'd get a break at 10:15 and for 15 minutes, and then you'd have a half an hour for lunch and another 15 minutes in the afternoon. It was really hard.
Cindy comes home every day covered in bugs and dirt. But the job teaches Cindy the value of $1, and she begins to develop a business sense, skills that will serve her well in her future career.
I would make $1,000 in the summer, that got me through the whole school year. You know, I could go back to school shopping and buy a homecoming dress and buy Christmas presents at Christmas.
But Cindy is about to become blindsided by 2 family crises. Cindy's father, Dan, announces he is leaving the marriage for another woman, just as Cindy's mom learns she has a serious medical condition.
A pap smear came back not good, and they told me that I needed a hysterectomy. And I had been thinking, okay, I'm going to be home for 6 weeks, things that I needed to do, and we were walking outside, and I said, you know, when I'm home, I'd like to do this. I'd like to paint the house. And he said, well, I'll give you the money too, but I won't be here.
It's a shock to everyone. Jenny is left devastated, and Cindy is angry.
I was pissed. I mean, I did not want to talk to my dad or have any, I just, you know, and I remember saying to him, you're not just leaving your mom, you're leaving us, and, you know, I want you to, you know, realize the full impact of your actions and yada yada.
Life begins to change in the now all-female Crawford family. Cindy and her sisters begin dating, and so does their mother. Cindy gets serious with Bill Cordes, captain of the football and basketball teams.
He was my first, I would say, real boyfriend, like, you know, where I thought, like, maybe this is the one, or I thought I was in love.
Cindy dreams of being married and having children of her own. But a simple act of fate changes Cindy's life forever. When Cindy is 16 and a high school sophomore, a local photographer asks if he can take her picture.
There was a university in our town, and they had a weekly paper, and he would shoot this thing for them called Co-Ed of the Week. Even though I was in high school, he was like, wanted to do it on me and said that they were going to do a special.
And I was jealous a little bit of her. I mean, she was a high school student on the cover of my college newspaper in a swimsuit. And that's a little hard to handle.
When the picture is published, Cindy's friends and family have an immediate and unexpected reaction. They tell Cindy she should be a model. But the modeling world might not have the same opinion. Coming up.
They were very like, well, I don't know. You have that mole on your face, but that could probably be removed.
In 1982, at the age of 16, Cindy Crawford decides to give modeling a try. Her father, who has remained active in her life since her parents' divorce, drives Cindy to Chicago to visit modeling agencies. The first agency visit is not encouraging.
They were very like, well, I don't know. You have that mole on your face, but that could probably be removed.
Cindy doesn't like the idea of removing the mole, and time will prove that keeping it will pay off.
The mole is one of those amazing things, like Lauren Hutton's gap in her teeth, that made Cindy more than Cindy. It made her really recognizable.
The agency takes test photos anyway, with the mole. Those pictures get her a job offer. At 16 years old, Cindy does her first professional modeling shoot, a bra ad for Marshall Fields.
2 weeks later, it was in the Chicago Tribune, and 2 hours later, it was all over my high school. But it was funny. I was so, first of all, it was like, it wasn't a sexy bra at all. It was like a very Jane Russell kind of, support bra. And like people were teasing me, and I was like, I made $150. So whatever you want to say, go flip some more burgers at McDonald's.
The bra ad leads to more work, more money, and a deal with the Chicago office of one of the top modeling agencies, Elite. Their clients take notice, and little do they know that this teenage newcomer will eventually come to define the term supermodel. But for the moment, Cindy's academic goals are still her priority.
She started thinking, though, about going to Northwestern University. And financially, that was out of the question as far as I was concerned. And she thought, you know what? I might be able to make more modeling than detasseling corn. And so she sort of chose it as a means to get to where she wanted to go.
In her senior year, Cindy crams all of her classes into the morning and drives to Chicago in the afternoon for modeling jobs. She continues to excel in school. In June of 1984, she graduates at the top of her class. And because of her high math and science scores, she earns a chemical engineering scholarship to Northwestern.
I didn't really even know what a chemical engineer did, and I still don't to this day. I'm sure it involves some chemistry. What I did have aspirations for was to do something different and big.
After graduation from high school, Cindy's boyfriend, Bill Cordes, heads to Arizona, and Cindy heads to Northwestern, outside Chicago. But after only one semester, Cindy realizes she has to make a choice between college and modeling.
In Chicago, I was very much in demand, and I was making like $800 a day or up to $1,000 a day, and I could work every day there. And it just got hard to juggle college and modeling.
Cindy decides to leave Northwestern to model full-time. And her decision pays off. By the spring of 1985, 19-year-old Cindy is making $1,000 a day. But she is driven and wants more. When the New York office of the Elite agency asks her to move east, Cindy packs her bags and heads for New York. It's the first step in a journey to a level of success that no other model has ever attained before. And when Cindy arrives in New York City, her natural beauty and her mole do not go unnoticed by the fashion world. It is the era of Christy Brinkley and Kim Alexis, but Cindy hits the big time fast. Before his death in 2002, legendary photographer Herb Ritts spoke about Cindy's revolutionary career.
And that was quite against the grain with the blonde, blue-eyed model. Cindy was a bit groundbreaking for what the mold was and the norm.
It's a lush lips and her mole and the wavy, exceptional cascading hair and a very curvaceous body that really combines into this sort of sexy good girl. And it's a great combination.
And Cindy's distinctive look immediately brings comparison to another recent face. Cindy is dubbed Baby Gia after Gia Karanji, a brunette model who was extremely popular in the early 1980s.
That really got me in the door to see a lot of like the big photographers because they were curious, who's Baby Gia? You know, let's see her.
Gia Karanji had ultimately succumbed to a lifestyle of sex and drugs and died of AIDS. In contrast, Cindy is becoming known for her strong and clean work ethic and remains devoted to her boyfriend, Bill Cordes.
When we would go to Milan for the shows and Paris for the shows, Cindy was not the person who would be at the party at 3 in the morning and then stumbling onto the runway the next morning looking haggard. She knew she had to get her sleep, she had to eat properly, she had to exercise, and this was the way she took care of herself.
Cindy's big night out was having a margarita. I mean, she was never a big drinker and always into food. And, you know, she basically knew that her body was her office. She knew that her tool was her body, and so she had to use that and protect it and make it work at its best capacity.
Cindy's work ethic earns her respect, and after only a few months in New York, she is being shot by big-name photographers like Francesco Scavullo and Richard Avedon. And Cindy soon gets the industry's most coveted assignment, the cover of Vogue.
Getting a Vogue cover is huge. I mean, that's like the total good housekeeping seal of approval for a model. I mean, once you get a Vogue cover, it really opens a lot of doors.
Over the next 18 months, Cindy's face graces the cover of more than 50 fashion magazines.
She sells magazines, and so it was a basic thing. Put Cindy on the cover, you will have success.
By 1988, Cindy has been a huge success on the covers of women's magazines, but she decides she wants to reach a new audience, men. Her first step is a shoot for the Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition, a huge coup for a model.
An appearance in a Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue does so much for a model's career. If you don't know the model before they appear in this issue, you will know them because there's so much publicity surrounding the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue, and it gets bigger and bigger every year.
But the experience is not a good one. Cindy clashes with the editor.
The woman from Sports Illustrated handed me a turban to put on. And I thought she was joking because, you know, Sports Illustrated, if you think about who's looking at it, it's young guys. Turbans, I didn't think were sexy to young guys. So I said, I don't find turbans sexy. I think this isn't, and that was it. I should have gone home.
In the end, only one photo of Cindy appears in Sports Illustrated. Cindy doesn't even like it. But she soon finds another way to reach the male population. Coming up, Cindy Crawford takes it all off for Playboy.
When I got offered Playboy, that was a hard decision to make.
By 1988, the fashion world has definitely taken notice of Cindy Crawford. But Cindy is still determined to find an audience she doesn't have, the opposite sex. That problem is fixed when Playboy magazine calls.
When I got offered Playboy, that was a hard decision to make. There was a couple of things that made it easy for me to do. One was that my friend Herb Ritts was going to shoot it.
She trusted me. I think that's the key word. Cindy trusted me, and I was very protective of her.
With Herb Ritts behind the lens, Cindy knows she'll get good pictures. And the business savvy Cindy has been honing since her corn-picking days is about to pay off. She tells Playboy that she'll do the shoot for less money if she can have editorial control over the photos. Playboy agrees.
With Playboy, I had photo approval. If I decided that, like after we got the pictures back, I could kill the whole shoot.
Cindy and Herb Ritts go to the black sand beaches of Hawaii to shoot the pictures.
She feels it, and she gives you it. I mean, right to the end, before, you know, you're the one who has to say stop, not her.
When the photos appear in the July 1988 issue of Playboy magazine, 22-year-old Cindy is an instant sensation.
And they weren't pictures, or at least in my opinion, I was not ashamed, to look at them.
In fact, the increased visibility moves her to a new plane.
She had established herself in such a way that people then forgave her, even if she, or didn't even taint her, didn't even blame her or accuse her of being anything other than the good girl, even no matter what happened.
The fashion world's interest is heightened. Legendary fashion designer Gianni Versace offers Cindy a fortune if she will appear exclusively at his runway show in Milan and not do others. He also invites models Christy Turlington, Linda Evangelista, and Naomi Campbell. When the four models appear on the runway together, it's a sensation.
It was just like surreal, because it was just like all four of us like coming down the runway together with our arms around each other.
And in the wake of the Versace show, the term supermodel is born.
It really referred to the model as more than just a pretty face, more than just a picture in a magazine or in an advertisement. It was the model as celebrity, and it was really larger than life.
22-year-old Cindy Crawford is now earning $5,000 per day. And for the moment, all of her dreams are coming true. Coming up, Cindy Crawford and Richard Gere, how two sex symbols come together and why they fall apart.
Richard happens to be a really smart, interesting guy, aside from all the acting stuff that he does. So I just was very impressed by everything.
This is Headliners and Legends with Matt Lauer.
By the early 1990s, Cindy Crawford, right out of America's heartland, has become one of the most famous faces in the world. And even though there will be rough patches ahead, Cindy Crawford stays in control.
1988 is a phenomenal year for Cindy Crawford professionally. Things are looking up in her personal life as well when she meets actor Richard Gere at a barbecue at Herb Ritt's home. Before his death in 2002, Ritz spoke about the times he shared with Cindy.
I invited like 30 people, and Cindy was there. And as I recall, my mom kind of pushed them together. I think Richard definitely had noticed Cindy.
Well, I mean, I was 22 years old, and he was a big movie star, and so of course there was that level of just, oh my God, I can't believe he's looking at me or talking to me or anything.
Richard is 16 years older than Cindy, but sparks fly and the couple start dating.
So Richard happens to be a really smart, interesting guy, aside from all the acting stuff that he does. So I just was very impressed by everything.
Cindy's friends and family are a bit skeptical.
I definitely had concerns about a relationship with that age difference.
By this time, Richard Gere has starred in 17 films. He is one of Hollywood's hottest actors.
It just seems so bizarre because he was a person, and Cindy will say this too, I mean, we used to really think he was hot, and we were like teenagers at the time, but Richard Gere was like it.
People compare them to Jennifer Aniston and Brad Pitt today because they're gorgeous, they have the careers going, so they seem like the classic couple in Hollywood.
The romance clicks, but it will be complicated by their jobs. While Richard is on location shooting movies, Cindy is on location modeling somewhere else.
Now your hair can look drenched in hell.
In 1989, Cindy achieves what every model dreams of, a cosmetics endorsement deal. Revlon signs Cindy to a 4-year, $4 million contract.
Getting a cosmetic contract for a model is, well, that's kind of the carrot, that's what you want at the end. Because it's financial security and nothing else. I mean, as much money as you can make as a model, you just never know when your next job's coming.
The cosmetics contract is what you get when you do a lot of covers, and the cosmetics industry notices you, and then they say, oh, we want to support this woman, and we want to pin our future on this person.
Just because you wear lipstick doesn't mean he has to.
The Revlon deal gives Cindy the freedom to say no to things she doesn't want to do. Revlon. But one thing Cindy says yes to will take her in a bold but risky new direction. MTV asks Cindy to host its new fashion program, House of Style.
Welcome to House of Style. I'm Cindy Crawford. In-house today, we've got the latest lowdown on high fashion, a survey of street looks from the West Coast to the East, and a sampling of style dictums from some of our most visually oriented rock stars.
Cindy has little experience speaking on camera, and her first attempts are stiff and wooden.
Cindy's sort of sweet, slightly awkward thing was totally endearing, and then she managed to keep the charm but get a little slicker, and it totally worked. She's funny too.
I have extra hips, a little too much cleavage.
Cindy finds that the TV show adds an interesting dimension to her modeling career. For the first time, she can talk about fashion instead of just posing silently for the camera or walking the runway.
I'm not sure. I kind of like this one.
It's a shame in this world, in this day and time, that sometimes people think that beautiful people can't be intelligent as well. And Cindy showed the world that, hey, I'm an extremely beautiful woman, but I also can talk.
In November 1991, Cindy is invited to a wedding. Richard Gere is out of town, so the groom suggests to Cindy that his old friend, Randy Gerber, escort her to his wedding.
I'm not exactly sure what happened. I just know that he wasn't available to go, and she didn't want to go alone, so we just went, and we met that night. Oh, we actually met the night before. There was a little party at one of my places, and we had met before with a couple of other friends, so we decided to go together.
Cindy has no idea that 7 years later, Randy will change her life. For now, she has a serious boyfriend in Richard Gere. But Cindy still wants one childhood dream to come true. She wants her boyfriend to become her husband. She gives Richard an ultimatum.
I think it got to a point where I felt like if we don't do this, I can't stick around.
Richard Gere responds by marrying Cindy that night.
Eloping, basically. It was like, fine, let's go get married. Which at the time felt like the right thing. It just wasn't my dream wedding.
On December 12, 1991, Cindy and Richard fly to Las Vegas by private jet and are married at the Little Church of the West. There are only 3 guests in attendance, including Herb Ritts.
It was quite charming and sweet, and if you were there, you really felt it. And it was quite a special moment.
But Cindy's dream of wedded bliss will crumble. And after a long run at the top of the modeling world, she's about to stumble.
Oops.
Coming up, rumors about Cindy and Richard's sex life.
What if Revlon would have believed this stuff or didn't want the negative publicity, and I would have lost my contract?
Also capitalizes on her image with the Cindy Crawford Shape Your Body workout video. The video sells over 2 million copies in the United States alone. Between her exploding career and her movie star husband, Cindy is now used to media attention. But she doesn't anticipate what happens in August of 1993, when she appears on the cover of Vanity Fair with singer Katie Lang. Photographer Herb Ritts and Lang decide to have fun with Lang's image as a high-profile gay woman.
She said, well, I've always wanted to be shaved by a woman in a barber chair. And I said, oh, that's pretty out there. But then I thought, well, that could be cute if you did it right. And I thought of Cindy because she's so game and easygoing. She's a great model.
When the magazine hits the newsstands, the tabloids have a field day. People assume that because Lang is gay, she and Cindy are having an affair.
Most of the rumors that get said just feel silly, but there's certain ones that are hurtful, or possibly they could damage. What if Revlon would have believed this stuff or didn't want the negative publicity, and I would have lost my contract? I mean, it can be hurtful.
A few months later, the French tabloid Voici publishes an article saying that Cindy Crawford and Richard Gere's marriage is a sham. The paper claims that both Cindy and Richard are gay.
He's very involved in Free Tibet, and he felt like basically, by saying all these lies about us and saying that our life is a lie, they were undermining his credibility and my credibility.
Cindy and Richard respond with a $30,000 ad in the London Times proclaiming their heterosexuality.
Richard wanted to find a way to defend ourselves. He's dealt with fame a lot longer than I have, and he's dealt with the positive sides of it and the negative sides of it.
Cindy has been very complimentary of Richard in saying that he taught her how to be famous. She learned a lot from him and matured a lot as far as being in the public eye.
2 months later, in December of 1994, Cindy Crawford and Richard Gere separate. The couple says it has nothing to do with the publicity nightmare they have just endured.
We didn't work hard enough at having a marriage. I mean, it's more than just saying you're married. You know, he worked a lot and traveled a lot, and I just kind of followed that suit.
But no matter what the press thinks of the relationship, when it ends, Cindy is heartbroken.
It was really, really painful because she adored Richard and loved Richard deeply, and but knew that it wasn't right.
She decides that keeping busy will help her through the aftermath of the breakup. So when Cindy is offered a role in a feature film, she accepts the challenge.
It was great to have something to throw myself into. It consumed my whole life for a couple months.
The movie is an action thriller called Fair Game, co-starring Billy Baldwin. Cindy Crawford and Billy Baldwin are both big-name personalities, so hopes for the film are high. But when it opens, Cindy is crucified by the press.
It just happened to not be a very good movie, and I think had I been not known, people would have not nominated me for an Academy Award, but I don't think they would have ripped me to shreds like they all enjoyed doing, which I was fully prepared for. I mean, it still didn't mean it didn't hurt.
A lot of people said that maybe she shouldn't have done a starring role as her first acting gig. And now, as Cindy has done in the past to help so many models out too, you see models who are now going into acting and they're taking the supporting roles first.
Fair Game is the first project Cindy has ever attempted that has flopped, and it teaches Cindy a hard lesson.
And it was good for me to probably go, oh, okay, not everything I do is going to be successful, and to realize that that's okay.
Cindy is determined not to let the criticism derail her, professionally or emotionally, and she continues to focus on her work.
Ladies and gentlemen, meet George.
In October 1995, John F. Kennedy Jr. asks her to pose as George Washington for the first cover of his new political magazine, George. Cindy teams once again with her friend Herb Ritz for the cover photo.
The fact that it was Cindy Crawford, in the moment, the most popular, probably, woman in the world, probably next to Lady Di at the time, was interesting, and she pulled it off.
When the magazine hits newsstands, Fair Game's failure fades from the media's memory. Cindy is energized by the reaction and makes two pivotal decisions that she believes will advance her career even further.
I'm not leaving the neighborhood, I'm just leaving the house.
She retires from MTV's House of Style after 6 years. She also leaves the elite modeling agency after a 12-year relationship.
They were getting 20% from the client, 10% from me. Then who really do they work for? Because if anything, they'd be more loyal to the client because they're paying them more.
Even without Elite, Cindy adds to her portfolio. She scores a deal with Omega Watches. She forms a business partnership with Planet Hollywood. She writes a makeup book, and she signs a 3-year development contract with ABC TV, reportedly worth $2 million. But she's still looking for one more thing, a family. Cindy is seen on and off in public with Hollywood heartthrob Val Kilmer, but nothing comes of it.
From the first time I met her, she wanted to have children, and that family was probably the most important thing in her life to her.
Cindy is no longer linked with Val Kilmer, and the paparazzi's cameras keep catching her on the arm of restaurant entrepreneur Randy Gerber. Cindy and Randy had first met at their friend's wedding, only 1 month before Cindy married Richard Gere. They stayed in touch.
We would speak on the phone once in a while, but I was busy opening places, and I wasn't really in New York that much.
7 years later, they realized there's more to their relationship than just friendship.
I was looking at a house in Malibu to buy, It was John Bon Jovi's house, and Cindy didn't want me to buy it because we weren't married, and she thought it'd be a great bachelor pad.
We went out there for the day, and he had brought the ring out, and he proposed out in this house.
I bought the house, yes, and I got the girl.
In 1998, Cindy Crawford gives marriage another try. On May 29th, in a secret ceremony at the exclusive Ocean Club Beach Resort on Paradise Island in the Bahamas, Cindy Crawford and Randy Gerber tie the knot.
It was just perfect. It just really reflected our personalities.
It's a low-key ceremony. The woman who spends her life modeling high-fashion clothing wears only a short white Galliano slip dress.
We knew we wanted it on the beach. You know, we said no shoes, no jackets, just very casual.
It was, for me, sitting back and going through the years with her and watching her finally fall into the right place was really, really great.
ABC immediately put Cindy to work in the titillatingly titled television special, Sex with Cindy Crawford. When it airs on September 22nd, 1998, the ratings are disappointing. This time, Cindy takes the criticism in stride.
It was a season of Monica Lewinsky, and I think that the American public was just kind of didn't want to talk about sex anymore. And I don't think they really wanted to hear me talking about sex.
But shortly afterwards, Cindy does make a sexy move of her own. In October 1998, at the age of 32, she takes her clothes off again for Playboy.
Jay Leno or someone had asked me, oh, would you do 10 years later or something? And I said, yeah, well, if they asked me, you know, like, and they heard me say that, and so then they called and they're like, would you really do it? And this time I said, yeah, but I'm getting paid for it.
And it's not the last time Cindy will take it all off. In January 1999, Cindy announces to the world that she and Randy are having a baby. And the following June, she appears with her bare, pregnant stomach on the cover of W magazine.
I'm happy I have those pictures because, you know, it's great for Presley's baby book, you know. His first cover.
Close your eyes.
Cindy spends the final days of her pregnancy doing yoga and walking on the beach.
Third eye point.
Then, on July 2nd, 1999, Cindy Crawford gives birth to an 8-pound, 4-ounce baby boy. Presley Walker Gerber enters the world at the couple's Los Angeles home with the aid of a midwife.
I love seeing Cindy and how much she was into it and how excited we were about it.
Cindy takes quickly to motherhood. She says it's everything she imagined.
Every mom totally thinks their kid's the cutest, smartest, and I'm no exception.
But motherhood doesn't slow Cindy down. She soon finds ways to blend her two passions, her baby and her work. She signs on as spokesperson and advisor for babystyle.com, a website that sells baby products.
Okay, Kathy, so I'm ready to start working out again, I think.
Cindy also takes a business approach to getting back into shape. She creates a workout video, A New Dimension, targeted at new moms. But as Cindy shifts gears in her life, the company that embraced her in her youth is making plans for the future, and they don't include Cindy.
Pretty fresh, huh?
Coming up, Cindy faces the end of an era.
The last thing they want to do is tell a 35-year-old woman she's too old.
At the turn of the millennium, Cindy Crawford, the girl who started out picking corn in DeKalb, Illinois, is estimated to be worth $79 million.
I think one of the reasons for Cindy's extreme success is that she's a very shrewd businesswoman. She's taken a run on the catwalk and she's expanded it into so many different businesses.
She has appeared on the covers of over 500 magazines throughout the United States and Europe and has become one of the most successful models of all time.
Cindy's just this one singular beautiful creature and has managed to impart her celebrity and her gloss onto a lot of different things and be a great beneficiary of all that.
But fame and fortune haven't jaded her. Cindy honors her late brother Jeffrey, who died of leukemia, by lending her name and her time to charities like the Silver Lining Ranch, a camp for terminally ill children. Everything seems to be in order for Cindy, except for one thing, the Revlon contract that had cemented her fame. After 11 years as the spokesmodel for Revlon, Cindy learns that her contract is not being renewed.
My contract was expiring. Actually, on my 35th birthday, it expired, which is funny.
Revlon says they want a more user-friendly image and a new face for a new era. But the press spins the story differently. They ask, is Cindy Crawford too old to model?
Somehow, the way that they talked about it in the press, that's what the press picked up on.
But in March 2001, the company announces its new face, 21-year-old model Rhea Durham. Revlon denies age has anything to do with it, but for Cindy, it's more than that.
There was never like, you know what, it's been great working with you, and, you know, like when you retire from a company, you get like a watch or something, a little cocktail party. And I felt like I really was part of that, the Revlon family.
Although Cindy continues to model, and she says motherhood takes precedence in her life, she decides to give acting one more try.
Mom always said you get further with a smile. So I smile, and I smile, and I smile.
Cindy takes a role in The Simian Line with co-stars William Hurt and Lynn Redgrave. The small independent film teaches Cindy another valuable lesson.
It was fun, but it also reiterated to me that I don't really want to act. So it's great too, that I don't feel confident. I don't feel, like when I get in front of a still camera, I know what to do and I feel good, and I know that I have something to offer.
Critics who have seen the film offer positive reviews of her acting this time around. In 2001, Cindy once again combines work and family with a children's book about face.
You need to be silly to be a parent, and you need to get silly with your kids. And this book hopefully will be one tool in helping you get there.
It seems that Cindy's childhood dream of a husband and family has at last come true.
I always wanted to be a mom, and it's like in some ways, that was the fairy tale for me, and it's even better than I thought it would be.
And though the era of the supermodel may have passed, Cindy Crawford, the Midwestern girl with the mole, has left her mark forever on the modeling world.
She's someone who really made modeling into a respectable business.
And Cindy says she will continue to seek out fresh challenges, take risks, and face the critics.
Is she going to be a stay-at-home mom 100% of the time? Absolutely not. But, you know, will she be active with all of her charities, and will her life always be very fulfilled? Definitely.
I think life for her right now is at its best because she's got what she wants, a family.
I'm extremely happy. I have a marriage that's really working. He's a great guy, and I just love being a mother and all the things that I'm learning about myself from that. I have plenty of hustle bustle now. I just have a diaper bag now.
With 2 children, Cindy gets a lot of questions about motherhood, but it's her supermodel days that generate endless curiosity. People magazine asked her if she stays in touch with other supermodels. Crawford said they never had time to bond because they really didn't get to hang out. Everybody was always jetting off somewhere. I'm Matt Lauer. Thanks for watching.
For information on upcoming programs or to subscribe to our newsletter, go to prime.msnbc.com.